Well, this is one of my very favorite lessons. I actually have painted this before, but I thought it just got to be in this e-course. So what we're going to work today is we're going to work on value and color temperature. So when you look over here, you can see how we're going from dark to light, a value 9 all the way to a value 1, which is the white of the paper. And we're also going to be working with color temperature. So if you look here, you're going to see the cool moving into the warm, cool to warm, cool to warm. Even here, it's cool to warm. But then the value is so stunning when you go that dark next to that light. So those are the kind of issues we're going to be dealing with today. Love it. You also have had a lesson now on 2-point perspective. So let's just look at this very quickly. I always have my eraser handy. Whenever I start a picture, this is at the Le Vieux Convent over in France. I've probably been there about 14 times. Absolutely love it. The first thing I do when I sit in front of a subject is I go, where is the horizon line? And you can just tell by the bricks on the wall here, they're straight. You can't see the top of the step. That is the horizon line. So that's one of the first and very important lines to establish. And then where are those points that are on the horizon line? When you think of 2-point perspective, which this is, where are those 2 points touching? So now we've established the horizon line here, and that now it's a matter of, look how far away that point is. There it is. There it is. See, as we go up the steps, you can see less and less of the top step. Now you can't see any. So the rest of these steps are just the face of the step. But as we move down here, look at how it just keeps expanding and expanding. So that's one of our points, quite a ways off the paper. Now the other point is, where is that one? We can't see because all this stuff's in the way. That's okay. We don't have to worry about it really because all these flowers are in the way. And then you'll notice this guy here is pretty much just straight on. You can see the top, and as it moves around, it gets wider as it comes closer to us. Anyway, I'm going to do a very quick little drawing of this. And we've got the door up here at the top. And then we have a few steps coming down. And basically, this is the side of the steps we can't see. Then we get down here, and we've got those steps going off somewhere into space, way over here. You see the face of the step, and then it's coming in. This one's going up, and then you see quite a bit of this first step. And so what I usually do is I just come in with a pencil and kind of give myself the range of the steps here. Then I just jump right in with my pen and go for it. So now we're going to do the step coming up. And the thing is, you don't want to do it with a straight line, especially when you start with the pen. As soon as I've got the pen in my hand, I'm stopping, starting, I'm doing some broken shapes and moving across. And then we've got the face of the step again, which this is 17th century. This is very, very old. So you can see again, there's all kinds of little dents and stuff. Now this time as we go up, we're going to see a little bit less of the face of the step there. So now we're going to just move up here. This is the front of the step. And as you can see, that step's been, a lot of people have been walking on that step. This was a convent. I can just imagine the nuns working up these steps. That's what I love about this place. It's actually authentic. Now we're going to go back a little bit less, the face of the step again, and each time we show a little bit less, face of the step, a little bit less, face of the step, and now we're not going to see anything but the face of the step for the rest of the way up to the doorway. So see, that's how I did that. Here you can see that it's just coming down the front in about 1, 2, 3 steps up. It drops down straight. And then as it recedes, it gets narrower and it comes out wider. And then we've got the pot sitting on there, comes out again. Got another pot down here. So you just look for these basic things, and I would be ready to go now. Draw in the pots, the flowers, the foliage, and go for it. So I had a good time drawing it. Now, I'm ready to go. Okay, so this is actually the kit that is available. So if anybody would like to order this, it's available. And it comes with your reference photo and the drawing and a picture of my finished painting. And the fun thing is, whenever you're doing somebody else's drawing, first thing you got to do is check over what is it that I have here. Oh yeah, look at these are pots on the stairwell coming around, and then this is some of the foliage coming out. Here's a lovely little pot here with some foliage in it. And this part here is a little confusing. I just show the back of it, and I made what this is actually a jack holding up this poor old building, but it kind of looked like a window, so I just made it into a window. And I always love to have like flowers like this interlocking with the doorway, interlocking with the steps. Maybe I'll grow this little branch down here just a little bit further. So go ahead and make any changes you want to this. I really like this coming into the space a little bit here. And then if there's any parts that aren't perfect, go ahead and feel free to add some more information. And here I think I might just add a little bit more in here. So I'm basically ready to go. Now one of the first things I want to do is I want to teach you how to mix a gray and how to control the gray so you're pushing it from warm to cool. So we're going to start with two very critical colors. One is Winsor Orange, and I use this in a lot of my paintings. So I'm going to make a puddle of orange, and I'm going to make a puddle of Cobalt Blue. Now these two colors are perfect complements. That means when you put those two colors together, you're going to get a perfect gray. Very gray. Not a green gray, not a red gray, just a gray. So we're going to pull out a little of that and a little of that and see the beautiful gray that we have. Love this. So I keep the puddles there, and I want to work with a warmer gray and a cooler gray on the same step. And then I also want to go a little darker. So now I'm going to do a little puddle over here of Quinacridone Burnt Orange and French Ultramarine Blue. And this combination makes black. It'll make all the way from a brown to a black, but you can see the black happening. Great. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start with this cooler blue, and what we do is we put this cooler blue and we have to tuck it all the way into the end of that step, all the way. And then as we're moving out into the sun part, see what I did? I pulled in some more of this orange here. And then as I get out to the end, I wet my brush, shake it out. I take the extra moisture off here on my little sock, come in and just let that melt out into a warm color. So let's do it again. Down here on the bottom step, we're going to start with this very cool mixture all the way to the pot, around. Anything in front of it you have to paint around negatively. About halfway across we're going to pull in the warm, and I just sort of back it into this cool. Just let it happen. And then when I get out here, I wet my brush, shake it out, touch it here so there's just enough moisture in here to come in and lose that into a light. Very important. Now as I make my way up the steps here, It's the same thing, paint around, go all the way to the edge of the step. Hope you can figure it out. About halfway across, I'm going to add my orangey, warmer color. This is what I mean by temperature change. And then when I get just to the edge of the step here, this is facing the sunlight, I wet my brush, shake it, get the extra moisture out, and look at that, I take it right to the white of the step. Now here's one of the fun things. I can take a color like Quinacridone Burnt Orange, a pure color, and I can just charge this into this, warm it up here and there in a few places. Oh, I love, love, love what's happening. This is so beautiful. Here we're painting dreary gray steps, but look at the color we're putting in it. Isn't that lovely? A little bit more Quin Burnt Orange in here. When I start seeing some of that raw blue, I'll come in with some of that orange. And I can do the same thing with the blue if I want to. I can put a little bit of the cool blue over here into some of these warmer areas. So I really like the way we can just go in here and charge these different colors. And then anytime you see something happening you're not sure about, wet your brush, shake it, take the extra moisture out, and just go in and soften, clean up some of those areas. Like there's this kind of messy here. Clean that up a little bit. Over here too. Nice. Now if you want to go darker even, this has to do with the temperature, but now we're going to talk about the value. Value. Really important. So I want to go just a little bit darker. So see this mixture I made here, which is warm and cool, I can actually come in here and push this even darker. These colors don't go very dark, but these do. Wow, it's fabulous. I can go cooler. Here I pushed it more into the French Ultramarine. And then very often I'll use this color just to come in and do some of the cracks in the sidewalk. To go a little bit darker here and there. Here we've got another crack coming forward. It's a little darker at the base here. You know, you just look at your picture every now and then, it tells you what to do. It's a little darker down here. Sometimes I'll even throw a little bit of paint into that. Get some of those nice darks. So I can see a really strong, beautiful dark right in here. Ooh, I love it. So here we go. We're thinking about the temperature and we're thinking about the values. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint these steps doing this exact same thing. And when I get to the top of the steps, I'm going to show you another little trick. I'm going to put a little soft water into these steps just to give it a little bit of tone. You can see there is a little bit of tone in there. Not much. Just that little bit coming out of that dark paint is enough. We want to keep that value light, dark. So it's going to be dark, light, all the way up. And some of these edges look good softened, and some of them look good just leaving them crisp. I usually like them in these areas here that are a little mysterious. We're not sure what's going on over there. Then it's a good idea to soften them. When in doubt, fuzz them out. One of my favorite sayings. Now, this being so old, salt would be appropriate in here too. So I'm just going to put a little salt kind of dancing through here. Now I'm going to go for the rest of the stairs. very often when you're dealing with values, all the way from a 9 to the top of the stairs, which is a 1, people will just mix a black, and then it's like a hole in the paper. There's a better way. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the same colors that we used to make this dark step, and we're going to push it even darker. So using a combination of Quinacridone Burnt Orange. You can tell I love this color. I've got to fill my palette. So this is Quinacridone Burnt Orange. It's my substitute color. I used to use burnt sienna in the old days, nevermore. Now I use Quinacridone Burnt Orange. Beautiful transparent color. My favorite one is the one by Daniel Smith. And now I'm going to use French Ultramarine Blue. Now the good news is both of these colors are quite transparent. Actually, the French Ultramarine is semi-transparent, but it still gives kind of a nice glowing black. But the really good news is both these colors are liftable. They're non-staining. So if I just take some of this and some of this, I can make a beautiful black. And if I don't like it, I can lift it up. Now there's lots of ways to make black. Another one is alizarin crimson and phthalo green. That's a beautiful transparent black, but unfortunately it's staining, really staining. So I always like to have the option, if I get too dark, I can take it away. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to start with dry paper, and I mix this as dead dark as I could. So now I have to go around these flowers. And see, this wall isn't perfectly straight, so make sure you check that out. See how it goes in a little bit, and then you have a step. So we're going to come around here. And the wall again. This is my trick. What I like to do is charge in a pure color. I could charge in Quin Burnt Orange, I could charge in a blue if I wanted a cool accent. I'm going to be having some red flowers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the color Scarlet Lake. And see, I'm going to have some red flowers here later. Oh, isn't that pretty? Love that. I always like to get a little random start on those. So we've got a few flowers now. So the next thing I want to do is take the same pure color and just charge it right in here. Just charge it. Maybe I'll put a little bit of the orange next door right in too. And I might just come in with this little QBO darker here. So to me, this is how you paint a black hole. You have something in there that's enticing, something mysterious. What's up there? You'll notice on your little kit there's a dog standing in the doorway. I didn't put him in this time. Now all I have to do, wet my brush, shake it out, touch it, take off the extra moisture, start out here with just a little moisture, and just let these colors kind of roll out. So I never like to take a totally black hole all the way to the top of the page. And I could even throw in some more. Look at that. Let's just throw some more in and let it happen. So now these are also very, very dark. I've got my mixture all ready to go here. But be sure you put in a little more French Ultramarine Blue than you do the Quin Burnt Orange. And the reason for that is then you get that really cool dark. So these are meant to be little bars. So what we're going to do is again paint around this dark, all these little floral shapes here. And what I'm going to do is kind of pull this dark across and over to here. This is where I'm going to start charging in those same bright colors. Let's start with the Scarlet Lake. And see, here we have a movement going across. So I don't just put it in one spot, I move it across. And then I'm back to my dark again. And they're just going to blend and do their thing. And that's what we like. Pull that dark as far as we can. Pull this warm. Ooh, that's nice. Now I'm going to pretend this is a window, so I have another trick. I think you're going to like it. I'm going to wet my brush, shake it out, touch it again, and this is just going to be kind of lighter here. Well, it needs to be a little darker. So if this were a window, remember it's just a jack holding up the building, but I kind of made it into a window. Here's another little trick. I take and I just lay a piece of tissue down, and what I'm trying to do is get the look of a reflection. So this, just using my brush, or if you don't bite your fingernails, you can use those. And see what we've done? We've created some kind of nice little patterns there. I'm going to do it again. Push a little bit harder. I just love to lift out some of those, like what looks like reflected light. And I might even do a little bit of salt in that, just to give it the look of glass reflecting. So there we go, we've got our two dark holes painted. When I come back, I'm going to start painting the wall. Okay, now we're moving into this side wall. You can see there's a very lovely cast shadow with like a chimney or something. I can choose to put that in later. But right now, I just want to get the base wall. And if you look carefully at this, look how cool it is here, how light it is here, and warm. See, it's warmer. As we're getting closer to the light, you can actually see the brick tones lighten, warm up. And then as we get into the shadow more, they're either blacker or cooler. So we're going to try to portray that. And we're going to do it using the same combination we started with. So we're going to get out our puddle of Winsor Orange and our puddle of Cobalt Blue. These colors, boy, you got to have these colors in your palette. And if you try to substitute a different orange, sometimes it turns kind of purpley, sometimes it turns kind of green, because see, this orange is made up of red and yellow, and this one is a perfect blend of red and yellow. But some of these other oranges, they're just not going to work. So bite the bullet and get some Winsor Orange. It's the best. It's and another, if you are looking at a different manufacturing institution, it's called phthalo orange. But Winsor Newton likes to call their colors Winsor Orange. I think that's funny. Okay, so we're going to start with the cooler side here. And I see this definitely cooler over here. And it's kind of interesting, the mortar lines are kind of light. So usually the mortar lines are the darkest. So I'm just going to come in here and leave a few of those mortar lines white. So as we come out, we're just going to throw this in. I'm looking at this area. Sometimes I'll just take and flip a little color in there too. And then as we move down here, I'm going to go even darker. Ooh, it's amazing how those colors will do that. Now, one of the big concerns is I don't want you to go really dark on this side of the railing, and then when you get to the other side of the railing, you go really light. See, that's not how it works. You have to do what I call bookend that value. Whatever color's here has got to come out over here. If it's that dark here, it's got to come out that dark here. Then you can lighten it up. But it has to be the same. So just get in the habit, whenever you have a railing or a window ledge, whatever it happens to be, whatever color you're painting here, just move it to the other side and then you can lighten it. Now we want to get really, really dark down here. Look at how dark that is. So we're going to go back to our other mixture of the Quinacridone Orange and French Ultramarine Blue. I'm going to move that in a little closer. And by coming in with just a little bit more of the French Ultramarine Blue, I can again make that very strong dark. But if I want it to be a warm dark, I can just add a little more orange to it. So here we go. We're going to come in now and make this really dark. When we get close to the stairwell, we want to pop it out. So we're going to put some of these colors in here really, really dark. And I'm going between the warm and cool of Quinacridone Orange, French Ultramarine Blue. And I drew in, you don't see it in there, but I drew in some little grassy things along the edge here. Sometimes they are there. And I just thought, oh, I gotta put those in. I love it. So it's a little putsy, but putsy's fun. And then what you can do is kind of stop every now and then and maybe go back, convert this into the blue color. And we'll finish off this railing. It's gonna be same color on each side. And we're going to soften all this. And then up here you can see it's quite light. Now I want to get warmer. So I'm going to throw in some of this Winsor Orange. And see, we're just going to go into this lovely transformation from cool to warm. I love it. From dark to light. And now it's a matter of just softening all the way to the edge. And pulling this color all the way down to the bottom. I might even grab a little bit of that blue in there. Between the blue and all of these colors on my palette, I can just finish up with that. And the darker, the better. Look how important it is. I want to define the edges of those stairs. Very important. Now I sat in front of these stairs and actually this drawing was my freehand drawing. So it's not going to match your picture exactly, but it's close enough. Now I don't like the way this has gotten really gray. I'm going to warm that up a little bit. I'm going to take some of my Winsor Orange and throw it in there. Same here, I'm going to throw just a little bit more of the Winsor Orange around. And I'm going to just make sure I haven't created any bad bleed backs. There's one. I might push just a little bit more blue up here. This got a little warm. Kill a few of those whites. Now I'm going to add a few more dark shapes here. And see, usually the mortar is darker. So it won't hurt to reverse that now. See, I've got the white mortar. Now I'll put in a little dark. And I think we are ready to stop. And I might even lift out, just going to take a tissue and lift out a little bit of light here. I have gotten quite dark. And I'm going to come in with just a little bit of salt. That was a lot of salt, but that's okay. It'll get eaten up by all that color. So now we just have to kind of look at this over here. We've got this color left on our palette, perfect. And we want to keep it considerably lighter than the other side. So I'm just going to come in here, throw some of this warm color down, and just smooth it out here. This is just the light is touching this wall. So we don't want to get too much. We've got texture everywhere. This should be just a kind of a rest area. So we'll keep it warmer and cooler. Now I'm going to change the temperature again by coming in with just a little bit of cooler color. And when I have a choice, I usually put the warmer color close to my focal area, and then I get cooler as I move out to the edge. And that's just a simple rule, but it works pretty well. So this is kind of a vignette style. So I'm going to go a little cooler on the edge, a little warmer over here, and here, and here. So that's nice. We've got our bases covered here. Save a little bit of white here and there. Put in a little salt. You can see that's a very textured wall. So I'm really getting carried away with the salt here. And now we're ready to think about some of these dark shapes. Some of the flowers. We're getting down to the finishing. Okay, I'm just going to show you a kind of fun little thing. I'm going to pretend that this particular plant happened to have this long thing hanging down, for example, like this. Just this long thing hanging down. It's a plant. So we're going to paint some of the plants right now. One of the things we need is our Winsor Yellow, or it can be any primary yellow, but Winsor Yellow is excellent. And then we're going to take a little bit of Quin Gold, another beautiful color as a base for your green. Remember, I like to mix my own greens. And then we're also going to do Quinacridone Burnt Orange. And that color, combined with Antwerp, is going to give us a lot of variety. So we're going to start with just ever so little, because we want just a light green. Oh, lovely. So I'm going to just bring this right down the side here. Get a little more, get some more yellow on there. I want it really light. It's mostly yellow. And what I'm going to do is just have it hanging down here. And I just take and press and release. Take it, press and release. And this is a sommelier style of working. Press and release. Press and release. And I just keep doing this with the same colors. Oh, let's make that a little longer and then release it. And notice how they're not just exactly across from each other. In fact, this one, I'll cross over this and release it. And this one will just come down a little bit. So it's really fun to have these hanging there. And just to give you an idea how this is done, let me just turn this over and we'll do it again. Only this time we're going to do it with a little darker color so you can actually see what I'm doing a little better. So I'll use my dark mixture of Quin Burnt Orange and Antwerp Blue. Oh, we're cooking now. So you hold the brush in a sommelier position, straight up, and just using the tip, you kind of draw the stem you're going to do. And then just with a little pressure, press, and then as you release it, it gets thinner and thinner. So tip, press, and release. Tip, press, and release. Load up again, tip, press, and release. Load up again, tip, press, and release. So it's really fun to do. I think it's something, you need to do this. Practice a little bit. Just go get some grasses outside and hold them in your hand and practice. For example, just pressing and releasing. This is going to do some of those grassy shapes you see here. Press, release, press, release, press, release, press, release. It's really fun to do. You can see how the back of my paper is got a lot more bumps in it. Press, release, press, release. Lots of fun. So let's go back. Now when that dries, I'm going to paint that just very dark behind it. And what I'm ready to do now is just to come in and to get in some of these darks that are going to frame in the flowers. So we'll get in quite a few of those darks. And you can see they're everywhere. Going up the stairs, I didn't paint everything on the stairs, but I certainly got quite a bit. Quite a bit. So now we're going to put in some of these dark, I'm using this very dark color right now. Once again, it's the Quinacridone Orange mixed with Antwerp. And then here's that floral thing I was telling you about. And you just press and release, press and release. And so you can very quickly paint that little rascal. This is called a rigger brush. Look at that, they're only $3.75, what a deal. I actually have my own brushes made. And if you've got really good eyesight, that's my name on the brush right there. It's too funny. So this will be just a lot of repetition for you. I'll finish that later. But you can see if you just do this press, release, press, release, press, release, and just always do it so it's different than the value that's behind it. Now this is an area that's got a light background, so I'm making it darker. But let's say you're in an area where it's already dark, then you're going to do more of the Quin Gold mixture with Antwerp. And see, this is more of a mid-tone color. It's really pretty. It's more golden. It's just a different look. I like to get a variety. We've got the darker color, much darker when it's against a light, and then we do it much yellower when we're over against a dark. So for example, all these little rascals along the sidewalk here, stairs, need to be light. So they're basically yellow with just ever so little green in it. Maybe a little more. So we'll just touch those in. And if I leave a few of the white of the paper, I'm going to like that too. So you notice I'm not being real fussy about this. I actually just like it to be a little sparkle there. These are going to go a little bit darker because they're out in a light area. And you already saw me do the random throw using my Scarlet Lake. And I really like that. I love to just take, what I do is I hold the brush like this, with it, not banging it against my finger. No, no. You just take and touch it, and it just drops. It's so cool. So I love to do a little bit random. Then I come in and I do the control. Wherever I drew these, I try to put the color down. And Scarlet Lake really is perfect for this because it's such a bright, beautiful color. I love it. All the other colors, like alizarin, looks bright when you're putting it down and it dies when it dries. So I'm never totally happy with alizarin. I still use it, but it's not my favorite color. Okay, so now down here, I'm just going to do an array of very bright reds. They're going to dry a lot lighter, so it was a good year that year for geraniums. In fact, the more red we put on here, the more I like it. I'm going to go for it. Yeah, it was a really good year for geraniums. Let's really go for it. Oh my gosh. There we go. Okay, now I've got a really cool thing I want to share with you about in the foreground here. Using my script brush again, and using the same colors that we used earlier, I'm going to quickly mix those up. I'm going to do just a gray mixture. And often what you see in the foreground, there's all kinds of little pebbles. In fact, I frequently will draw lots more in, but there's little gravelly pebbles, and then there's leaves, that kind of thing that fall off the flowers, so they happen to be laying here on the ground. So, in the rubble, and usually it gets blown into these little crevices at the bottom of the stairs, and even at the bottom of every stair there's a few of those. So what I'm going to do is show you how I would paint that foreground. So using my script brush and about a number 8 regular brush. These two brushes are going to do the job. So the first thing I'm going to do is pick up my gray mixture made with Cobalt Blue and Winsor Orange, and I'm just going to start flicking. See, I'm just flicking in those little spots. And I do it in a horizontal manner. See that? In landscapes, everything is pretty much horizontal. So I'm just flipping those in there. Remember, this is 17th century. It goes back a long time. Now using the bigger brush, holding it in the middle, I'm going to do the same thing, only this time I'm going to get bigger rocks. So now I've got little rocks and big rocks. And you probably think, oh, that's a lot of rocks. Don't they ever sweep? But here's where the trick comes in. Now I'm going to take my round brush. I'm shaking out most of the moisture and touching it here. And using my brush on the side like this, I'm just going to roll it back and forth. And see how those colors now are kind of smearing in a horizontal way? Just smear them together. Remember, on the edges, I like to lose all the edges. So see, now we're just picking up a few of those random dots. I love this. Just love this. Oh, this is fun. Oh man, I get paid for this. This is great. Thank you. Now you can see what happened when I smoothed that out. We got some lovely little light areas, some little whitish areas. Now we can come in, mix this up a little darker, a little more orange, a little more blue, and now we can come in and dot in, while it's still wet, we can throw in some more little dots. Oh, actually I want them warmer. Throw in some warm ones now. And I'm just going to let those colors kind of melt around a bit. Because I really love that charge of color into the grays. You just put the gray down and then you charge all these beautiful tones in. Going from dark to light and going from warm to cool. That is the lesson. We're talking temperature and value. Very important. Something you really need to think about. You know what? I think, I was thinking I'd put some flowers down there, but I think I'll just make them some. I'll fill those in. When in doubt, just put something in there and fuzz it out. Don't worry about it. So now we've got this dark area to deal with, and we're pretty close to being done. Okay, so we still have a few pots to paint, and we have this dark corner. And remember I talked about this area is going to be a rest area. This area up here is a rest area, but so is this dark area. It just means that there's not a lot going on. It's just either a solid white or a solid dark. And you already know how to make a beautiful dark. And if you don't like this color, you can even lift this color. So using my Quinacridone Burnt Orange again, my French Ultramarine Blue, leaving it in a puddles and pulling the colors out. So I'm going between warm and cool, warm and cool. And I think I'm going to go really cool right here. So I'll pull this dark in. You can see along the wall here, it really is dark. So I'm just going to, this whole wall is pretty dark. I'll charge in some more blue, and then I'll charge in some more warm. So I'll give it a little bit of variety. But it's basically quite dark. And it comes all the way down here, all dark. So I have to paint around my foliage. And then whenever I am in doubt, I just sort of fuzz it out here. So we'll make that kind of a mid-tone. This will be kind of a mid-tone. These need to be somewhat toned. So I'm just going to put that on one side. Wet my brush out and just soften the edge so it looks round. And maybe just a little darker up here under this brick. And now this pot is going to have, you can see the light is coming in. So this pot is a white pot, and I actually like it white. So I'm just going to come in with ever so little bluish tone here. And when I get about halfway across, I'm going to lose that edge. Anytime you have a round pot, you have to have a lost edge. So it's going to be darker here. I could even go a little bit darker, see? It's going to be darker there, and it's going to roll around to lighter. Same with this pot. I could just come in with my Quinacridone Orange, beautiful pottery color, and put that on the side. And then as I come around about halfway, I wet my brush, touch it to get the extra moisture out, come in on the outside and back into it. And look at that, beautiful edge. So you're going light, mid-tone, and then you could just come in, put down a little bit darker value on this side. I always try to think in terms of 3 values. So you've got your dark, your mid-tone, and your light. I'm going to warm that up a little bit. I'm going to put a little more pure Quinacridone Orange over it. And then that color just echoes throughout the whole painting. It's pretty cool. And this is cool. This is a little green pot. I've been looking at that pot forever. So I'm just going to take a little manganese blue. This is a new color. Yay. Put a little manganese blue and yellow together. And this is going to give us the green pot. Halfway, wet your brush, shake it, take the extra moisture out, come over here and soften the edge. Very nice. See, I even like some of those spots of red on there. Then after I've created this dark mid-tone light, I come back and make it even darker on the shadow side. There, and we got a pot up on the stairs here. Let's do that in a Quinacridone Orange again. This side will be orange. The other side will be just light. We'll soften that, let it fade out. And now we're ready for the grand finale here. This is this last part. I better juice up my colors, more QBO, and more French Ultramarine Blue. Very dark. I really want it quite dark. So I'm just going to come in here, and now with my round brush, see what I can do? I can paint around these guys. So I didn't even have to draw it in. I just painted them, and now I'm going to paint around them. Paint around, juice up again here. tip. Release. It's almost like doing it all over again. It's kind of fun. So I always think, well, I don't really need to do this plant here, but I love it. It's perfect. So we're getting to the bottom. We're getting to the edges of the paper. And what you want to do, now my paper's dry, so man, this is drying. Notice how I keep going back and touching it? I'm trying to keep it wet because I'm going to take and shake my brush out, touch it, and I'm just going to lose this edge into a little bit lighter gray. I'll put some more color in there. But I just don't want a solid black going off the edge of the paper. I want it to be somewhat softened, toned, with a little bit of temperature change. Like I might even come in here with that warmer color and just let it warm up a bit. And then I might just come in with a little bit of pure cobalt and put that over here and cool it off a bit. So think about the temperature. When you're working with your artwork, always think about the temperature. Is it warm? Is it cool? And then think about the value. How dark do I need it? Do I need this to be a value 9? See, photographs actually show things much darker than they are. But in some ways I like that because it pushes me to do a little bit darker value. So this whole corner, you can see, I could actually paint this out just a little bit darker. Kind of merge it together with just a little bit more value, darker value. Merge, just sort of let some of these areas kind of melt into the darkness. Because I don't want to draw attention to these. Almost looks like a jail. I don't want to draw too much attention to that. But just enough attention to, so this will work. And then when this is dry, I'll even put some shadows over that. I think I'll go back to a little cooler temperature down here. So you can see you can play with it. You're in charge. You want it warm, you put a warm color on your brush. You want it cool, you put a cool color. Now we've got this whole thing here. This is going to be just more grays. Might as well just use up the color we have right here. Let's merge that into that area. You can see the light is touching the front of this. So we're going to just leave that quite light. But it does have a little color. So again, what I would do in a case like this is I would just simply wet it first and then just touch in a little bit of that color. Or throw it in. That's one of my favorite ways to do it. Just touch it and throw it in there. And again, you can make it warmer or cooler. I chose to make it a little bit warmer. Anything in the sun, I like to give it just a little bit more heat. And see, even up here, I would like to warm that building up a little bit. We'll just throw in a little bit more warm. Oh, look at that. I picked up those reds too. I like that. I like that. So now we got a little more warm up here. Yeah, now we're cooking. Maybe we can even pick up some of those warms there. And down here in our sidewalk, let's take a look at the whole picture right now. And I can see do my final evaluation. I can see where I need to do some more greens and I need to do some more darks in here. For some reason I lost the dark edge of this construction here, so I'll come back and get that in. Maybe a few more darks down here, so I'll just finish it up and bring it back and show it to you. So we're down to the nitty gritty of it all. I can see now this is in shadow. So we need to come in with just a little bit of this gray color. Kill that. Maybe again, thinking about the temperature, I'll warm it just a bit. And then this is hanging in a dark corner. And of course it's too much of a contrast. So we're just going to put a little bit of this gray over it. Here and there. It's kind of fun. So where it's coming out into the light, we'll leave it just a little bit lighter. And then some of this side would be in shadow. This would be with the cast shadow over it. This would have some cast shadows over it. It's possible there'd be some cast shadows on the ground from this. So you can, I don't know how far you want to go with details, but mostly I'm just looking now for the warm, the cool, and the values, the dark, the light. This is a little bright. And I think I need to go a little bit cooler and darker at the base of this right here. And I can, oh, I just made a little discovery. It's another pot here or something. Done. So there's always that point where you have to say, okay, if I take it any further, I'm going to overdo it. And believe me, I've done that in the past. So there is an expression that you start your painting with a mop, meaning the big brush, and you finish the painting with a needle, meaning the small brush. That's exactly what we did here. And right now I'm at the stage where I have one more little thing to do with the needle, and that would be this dark railing, which could be left a little bit light, and then getting out here into the sun, we can make it just a little bit darker. A little darker back here. Thank God they got a railing on this stairs. I've got to turn it this way to get it. So dark, a little bit of light here like this. I'll just soften that edge. And as we go out the picture here, we'll go even darker. A little green in there. And maybe one little bit. So there you go.